Hello, Noble Knitter, it's Nancy Queen, and today I'm going to show you how to knit this half pie shawl. It is basically half of a circle, and it's really easy to knit. In fact, some shawls start with a tab at the top, but we're not going to do that. I'm going to make it much easier for you to increase. You're just going to be doubling each time, and you don't even need to read the pattern while you work this. So let's dive right in. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click the bell to get notified every time I post. I'll be using 4 skeins of Lion Brand landscape yarn in these really pretty self-striping colors, and it's a size 4 Craft Yarn Council or worsted weight yarn, and I will include the yardage you need in the description below, as well as links to all of these materials. I'm also using a really long circular needle because we're going to have a lot of stitches. It's a size 11 60-inch. This Kacha counter with a very satisfying click, a finishing needle, and 2 stitch markers. They don't have to match. You're going to begin by casting on 8 stitches. You can use any cast on method you like. I'm going to use the long tail. That's my favorite go-to cast on, and you can see how to do it in the link above. Now I'm just going to get those 8 stitches on the needle. And if you prefer, you can cast on and work the first few sections of this project using a shorter length needle. Now for row 1, we are just going to knit all 8 of those stitches across the row. Now our setup row starts right here, and it will set things up so that we can do our eyelet increases. The first and last 3 stitches of this row will be knit, and then we're going to work eyelets or yarn overs in between each stitch between the markers. So let's do this row now. We're going to knit the first 3 stitches. Then we're going to pick up our first marker and place it on the needle. Now we're going to work a yarn over before and after each stitch in this section. So yarn over, knit 1, yarn over again, and knit the next stitch, yarn over one last time, and now you're going to place another stitch marker on the needle. And then you are back to your last 3 stitches, and you're just going to knit those last 3 stitches. That's all there is to your setup row. Take a moment and count that you have 3 yarn overs in between the markers. They sit diagonally on your needle while the stitches sit straight on the needle. And now, because we've made 3 yarn overs, we're going to knit the next 3 rows. So you'll knit the first 3 stitches, then you're going to slip that stitch marker from one needle to the other, and then you're going to knit all of the stitches in the center, including those yarn overs. Slip the marker again, and knit the last 3 stitches. And you will do this for 3 rows total, and then we're going to have another increase row. Now we're on to row 6, and this is an increase row. So we're going to knit the first 3 stitches, then we're going to slip the marker. My marker fell off, so let me put it on the needle. And now we'll do yarn overs before and after every stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, knit 1, yarn over again, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over one last time, and now I'm at the marker, so I'll slip that marker and knit the last 3 stitches. So we have done 6 increases between those 2 markers, and again you can see the yarn overs are on a diagonal and there's no bump attached to them. And the stitches themselves sit straight on the needle. So that's how you can identify them. I always go and count to make sure. Now we've done 6 yarn over increases. Now we're going to do 6 rows of just straight knitting. This is where I find a row counter really helpful. I set it back to 0, and then when I finish a row, I'm going to give it a click, and I'll do that for the next 6 rows until it's time to increase again. After knitting 6 rows, we are ready for another increase. So we're going to knit the first 3 stitches and then yarn over before and after every stitch between the markers. And what's going to happen is we're going to end up with 12 yarn overs or increases between the markers. So that means we're going to have 12 rows of straight knitting after that. Are you starting to see the pattern? We did 3 increases, 3 rows, 6 increases, 6 rows, then 12 increases, now 12 rows, and it keeps going like that. It doubles every time. So the next section will be 24 increases, and then we'll knit 24 rows. First, I want to let you know there's a PDF downloadable pattern in the description below. Now, before we knit anymore, we have one little thing to take care of. Remember those 8 stitches we cast on? Well, what we're going to do is fold them in half so there's 4 on each side, and then we're just going to seam that up. And this way we don't have to deal with the garter tab, and it's going to give a nice clean look to your shawl. So what I do is I leave a longer tail when I do my cast on, and then I just go in and I sew those 4 stitches on each side together. So I'm just going to start it and seam on one side and then go over to the other side and just do that back and forth, then weave in the yarn ends, and no one will know you did not create a garter tab. I know this garter tab frightens a lot of people who haven't knitted a shawl before, but you don't have to worry about it. Here's a quick little fix and no one will ever know. Now I've flipped this upside down so you can see how our shawl is already taking shape. This is what's going to sit on your shoulders, and then there's the bottom of your shawl. So you're getting that half pie shawl shape already. And you're just going to keep knitting outwards to create a wider and wider, larger and larger shawl. And those increased rows will create that shape that we're looking for. Now, if you don't know how to count the rows, each ridge here, those are called garter ridges. Each ridge counts for 2 rows. So if you go 2, 4, 6, 8, you can see I've completed 8 rows of garter ridges. And in this section, I need to do 12. So I have 4 more rows to complete. So I'll have a total of 6 garter ridges before I do my next increase. So if you aren't using a counter or you forget where you are in your project, you can use that little trick to find out what you should be doing next. Now, when you're working this shawl, you're going to keep doing the increases and doubling the number of rows you do that coordinates with the number of increases you've made. But now I've done 96 increases on this last section of yarn overs. So you don't want to bind off right after that section or it's going to look really funky. So you want to make sure you've knitted at least half of the rows needed for that section. So I knitted 60 rows before I did my bind off. And I'm going to show you this super stretchy bind off that's really easy to do, so that your shawl has a really nice drape and those cast off stitches aren't bunched up. This stretchy bind off is really easy. So we're going to knit the first 2 stitches like we normally would, but we're not going to take the first stitch up and over. Instead, we're going to insert our left needle into the front of those 2 stitches and knit them together. Now you've knitted those stitches twice, so we'll knit another one and then insert our needle in front of the 2 stitches and knit them together. And you're just going to keep repeating that all the way across, and you'll get this really nice stretchy bind off that won't make your knitting gap. It's going to drape beautifully. You'll be really pleased with it. My Gen Z daughter took one look at this shawl and claimed it for herself. So she was going to show you how to style it, but the audio got corrupted, so you've got me. So she's pairing it with a white ruffled blouse, some vintage earrings, and a pair of red wide leg high-waisted jeans. She's also added a pair of black glasses and black boots to anchor the whole look. Now, if you want to see more how-to shawl videos, you've got to watch this one next. I'll see you in the next video.